exhibition this evening. So over to you, Mark.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I know that there are people in both rooms, so I'm going to be very brief with what I say. When Vic came over to my house and presented me with this extraordinary book, from the cover to the book itself to the inside, I was overwhelmed on so many levels, and I've been spending the day reading the book from beginning to end and exploring all the pages. And Vic describes in this book, Painting the Song, that when Debbie wrote her book of poetry on the weekly portion of the Torah, in a cleft of the rock, which is a line that comes from the Song of Songs and precedes the famous line that I am my beloved and my beloved is mine, that Debbie inscribed the book to Vic and said, "For Victor, who sees what I hear." And this book is a visual and an oral feast on one level of one of the biggest stories in the Jewish and in a broader universal tradition. And Judaism emphasizes these qualities of seeing and hearing without privileging one over the other. So in Aramaic, one reads the Talmud and one says, "Tashma, come and hear." And we all know that the central proclamation of Jewish faith begins with the words Shema, hear, listen. But the mystics also know, as Vic knows and as Debbie knows, that one says Tachazeh, come and see. So seeing and listening are two different ways of looking at the same reality. And when we look at the reality through those senses, as we do in this book about the Song of Songs, we realise that there are so many more layers and levels to reality that go beyond what we see and what we hear, and that sometimes we need to be guided by people with eyes that can see, and sometimes eyes listen as well. So again, in the Torah, it talks about seeing the mountain and its sound, so that you can see sound and you can hear things visually. And in this book, there are so many doors that have been opened up to one of the central books, as I say, in the Bible, one of the most intriguing books, the Song of Songs. And I have a very strong memory of once approaching Debbie and saying to her and asking her about the different words that are used for a song. Shir, a song, and Shira, a song, the name of the community, the religious community that she was a part of, Shira Chadasha. And I knew that only Debbie would be able to distinguish between the different kinds of songs. But I think the fact that Vic and Debbie both chose to write about not just the Shir, not just the Shira, but about Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs, points to a very deep lesson that Debbie has left us with and continues to teach us about, together with Vic in this incredible work. And that is that we all, I think, are living our own song. We all try to construct out of our life a kind of poetry. We move on our journey from one place to another. But Debbie liked to say that there is only one story that is worth telling, quoting the poet Robert Graves. And the Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs, encapsulates that one story that allows us to see the threads of each of our own individual stories and pull them together into a larger narrative. And the key to that is that all of our individual stories are connected to each other, and there is no one way of understanding it. The Song of Songs, of all the books in the Bible, is known to be the most metaphoric and multi-layered and argued about and open to interpretation kind of piece. On the one hand, it's a very erotic piece of writing. On the other hand, it's seen as a midrash or a metaphor for the relationship between Jews and God. And then it's seen on a much deeper mystical level as a way of understanding the different sphirot, the different layers of reality that sometimes our own sight and sometimes what we hear can't actually penetrate. So what we have in this book is Debbie presenting us with the most extraordinary set of poems and continuing to teach us through those poems about the story of the story and the shir of the shir. And together with Vic, the paintings being layered together with Debbie's poetry. And one of the beautiful things about this book is the way it presents Vic's earlier drawings that he envisaged and how Debbie then scribbled in the margins and then Vic integrated those ideas into the painting, so that what you have is a kind of midrash, a conversation between Debbie, between Vic, and most importantly, between the viewer. These poems need to be met. They need to be encountered. They need to be heard. They need to be read, just as these images are. And so what I want to do is to really just talk to you about some of the poems that moved me as I read it, that were really vintage Debbie, and how they were captured by Vic in his art. Beyond the darkened depths, upon the breath that plays upon the water, let us run. So that is Debbie's poetic commentary on the biblical line, draw me towards you, let us run together, the king has brought me into his chambers. And it's said that when a Yiddish writer did a translation of Hamlet, on the cover of the book it said verteidigt und verbessert, translated and improved. And I think Debbie's rendition, beyond the darkened depths, upon the breath that plays upon the water, let us run. And then in another poem, dreamed but unconceived, tasted but untouched, this drunken, tangled madness, apricot, bed of love. And I think that that poem communicates what Debbie liked to talk about, the paradox of yearning for something, and the closer we come to our dreams being fulfilled, the more we realise that in the actual fulfilment of the dream, that in itself is distancing ourselves for what we yearn for. That there is always that gap between our desires, between wanting to taste and actually being able to touch it. And then this beautiful line that comes out of an influence both of the Bible and Leonard Cohen, there is music in the bruising of the night, a fluttering, a fear. Free me, my Lord, and I will fill your dawny mouth with lily wine and song. And I think that Debbie understood what it meant to talk about the bruising of the night, and understood that the night is both the source of nourishment but also the source of pain. And in the painting, some of the paintings that Vic has used to illustrate this, that Vic has moved from light and also into paintings such as the one over here of deep darkness, the kind of darkness that has breath playing upon the water. And then finally, I gaze into these secrets and find creation written there. And I think that Debbie understood how creation is about words, it's about letters, it's about the secrets. And in these paintings, we find on the canvas a construct that is made up of many of those motifs, of flowers and petals being opened one by one, and of the different layers and secrets of creation. And in the end, and I'll end with this, the poem that says, wrap me around you, until I hold you tight, and when I go, I'll leave with you the imprint of our light. And I know that we often heard Debbie speak about the soul prints that we leave in this world. And in this book, in this partnership, in this collaboration with Vic, the presence of the art is something that endures. The letters, the words, the imagery, this incredible artwork that exists on so many different layers and leaves a very deep imprint of our life that extends in a way on that bridge from life to death and to that place beyond where the breath and the colour and the light and the darkness continue. So I want to, and I'm very pleased to be able to launch this beautiful book and to really present you on behalf of the this gallery with these paintings by Vic. And Vic is now going to speak to us about the work. Thank you.
This is a very emotional night tonight. Debbie was the one that was good with words. I wish you